Conical Supremacy. We are broadcasting live from downtown Santa Ana, Local 7. Take it away, John.
Hey, good afternoon. How's it going, everybody out there? Thanks for showing up for yet another episode of Conical Supremacy. Come on up here, Doug. Come on. As you can tell, today's going to be our Dixieland show. And just like to take a second, I think some of you saw it out on the card. These are the JambaHatters. And mostly because the guys over here are from the Jambalaya Jazz Band. And these two guys are from the Straw Hatters, and I'm just going to take a second to introduce everybody here for a second, if you don't mind, Doug. Great. So on trombone today, we have the one and only Mr. Joey Sellers. Yay. And on trumpet, we have Mr. Chris Ebley. And you've seen this guy before on the show. On drums, Mr. Jimmy Ford. Then a couple of guys I've been working with forever, Mr. Tom Liston on banjo, Mr. Vince Verdi on clarinet, and his brother Rob Verdi on tenor saxophone. So now that we got that out of the way, how was your week?
John, my week was great. Thank you. First of all, what an incredible group. It's just amazing to sit here and listen to you guys play.
You know, this is the pretty much the third time I think I've played Dixieland in the last 17 months.
That's a start.
So one of the things that we wanted to talk about today was, well, first of all, how was your week? What did you do?
What did I do? Yeah, it was
You
fun.
had a couple sessions this week,
I
right?
had a couple sessions. What we do, Adam's Family 2 on Friday.
And you we were with Russo on Tuesday or
Oh,
something?
yeah, Star Trek Discovery, yes. And then we were at the Bowl last night. We did the premiere of the orchestrated version of The Princess Bride.
Oh, how fun was that? Was it cool?
Yeah, well, it was amazing. This amazing person named Mark Graham took the original guitar score and wrote it out for orchestra. And so we played it last night at the Bowl.
And that was at the Philharmonic?
Yes.
What a good time, man.
Well, and David Newman was conducting, and he's
well, that's awesome.
he's the best. He's absolutely the best in the business.
Well, you had a great week.
I can't complain.
Yeah, no, and I wouldn't. But today I wanted, and thanks so much for being down with us today. Folks, please hang in there because somebody's going to be playing in a little bit here, and believe me, it's going to be just awesome. But I wanted to do like a legacy show today, and and talk about the fact that at Disneyland, since all the guys up here work at Disneyland, and we're still not back yet, but the importance and the relevance of having traditional jazz at the park. Q, can we pull up that first thing, man? As some of you will now see, it'll be the river shot back in, I think it was what, 62, Quinn? 62, with Louis Armstrong playing on a raft at one of the Dixieland nights that Walt wanted to have happen.
In the park?
In the park, yeah.
Okay.
And this was actually before, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, this is before New Orleans Square was open, correct? 62, because it was, New Orleans Square was what, 64 or 65? 67. All right,
yeah.
So I really think that this whole thing, Quinn, can we throw up the next one, please? And right here, you can tell that Walt was in love with one of my heroes, Louis Armstrong, and they're dancing together right now. But if we can go to the next slide too, Quinn, the Firehouse Five, and I think everybody up here is really familiar with that, and if you're not, they were the first Dixieland band truly at Disneyland, and the great story about that is that all those guys were animators that worked at the studio, and they, for kicks, played Dixieland, and Walt said, hey, you guys want to play on the weekends? And they were like, yeah, sure. So they would come down, and where the Straw Hatters play around that area right now, they would sit up in front of the Firehouse on Main Street, and that's where they got to be known as the Firehouse Five.
Amazing.
So all of us here are trying to keep that legacy going, and we hope we're back real soon. And I hope that the company knows what an important thing that Dixieland really is to Disneyland.
Yeah, it always had. I remember going there as a kid and just being blown away. There was music on every corner. It was incredible.
Yeah, I hope we're back. I really do. So do you mind if we play another one?
I'd love it.
All right, so, and this one is for you, Bill. I know you're out there, one of our super fans out there, Bill Holt. He's been messing around with Do You Know What It Means to Miss New Orleans, and I thought it'd be a really great tune for us to play right now for you, and we're going to feature Mr. Vince Verdi right at the top. So please enjoy. You know, one of our new segments on the show. You're being all loosey-goosey today. One of our new segments on the show is Afternoons with Doug. And can you set this up for us, please?
Sure, I can set this up. This is part 2 of my visit to Rob Stewart's shop. And Rob Stewart, as I said, is a legend, an institution. I don't know if anyone wants to be described as that, but if anyone is, Rob is. In Southern California, he's a master brass repairman. Someone call him an artist. I think he spends most of his time now doing restorations of historic instruments. Anyway, in part 1, we went into his shop. We got to see, you know, some of the places where he replaces instruments
and
his tools
and how he goes about stuff.
And then he said, "Do you want to go in the house?" And I said, "Okay." And he said, "No one's been in the house, so this is like the first time in the world. I got to go. He let me go in there with my iPad. I photographed everything. We went into the inner sanctum, otherwise known as his office. He's got a closet full of instrument cases, and then he's got this amazing glass instrument case with the most incredible treasures. I tried to get them all, and then he narrated them as we went instrument to instrument, and I'm sure the stories that he told were just the tip of the iceberg about how important these instruments are. I mean, there are instruments that come through his shop which go right to the Smithsonian.
Yeah, I mean, he's beyond an artist. I mean, he's a craftsman. He's just unbelievable.
And an historian. Check out his website. He's got some really important writings on there about the difference between the trumpet and the cornet. For one instance, if you want to know what the difference between conical and cylindrical is, let Rob explain it to you.
Yeah, because that's the ongoing
Yes.
argument still to this day.
Well, but the happy thing to notice was that inside Rob's house, there was only, of all the instruments he had, I only saw one cylindrical instrument. So it was indeed the embodiment of the conical supremacy.
That's so awesome. Well, hey, everybody, are we going to throw that up right now, Quinn? So let's check out Rob Stewart's Inner Sanctum, and we'll be back right after this.
First time ever anyone's been allowed in this room, and you are there. The Conical Supremacy. There's the inner sanctum of Rob Stewart's operation. Rob, what's going on in this room?
It's my office.
For this, can you tell us about some of these horns and the history? And
Key bugles are both American, which are rare.
those are these guys.
Yeah, the little one's E.G. Wright, made of nickel, and then the copper one's Graves.
How old are those?
The Graves 1840, the Wright is probably 1850s.
Wow. And then here we've got these two. What are these two?
Boston rotary valve cornets. The Boston and then the McFadden.
And then we've got this guy.
The Leonard pocket E flat.
And this thing with the crazy.
That's an echo cornet. Adelbert Riedel, Chicago. The Con 4-in-1.
Wow. And down here.
Graves over the shoulder cornet.
With Civil War guy.
Pre-Civil War.
Pre-Civil War. Here is the keyed bugle, yeah?
Yeah, that's the Graves. And the one in the corner is the Graves post horn. It's just a tiny trumpet from the 1840s.
Amazing. Down on this shelf.
It's a McFadden English Cornopian.
And here?
It's a Richardson C. At the fourth ascending valve, C and D.
And this guy.
Graves C cornet.
Wow. And then down here.
That's a very unusual sax horn that was sold new in New Orleans, probably 1840s.
Oh, wow.
A German G trumpet. A Swedish cornet.
Yeah.
Or Prussian cornet. And a Boston F trumpet. Bach B flat trumpet from the 20s.
And then this.
Fisk E flat tuba, 1850s.
And there's the Alpha Clyde.
Clyde.
Wow.
Made in Paris.
Don't you've made Alpha Clydes too?
Yeah, I made a few. Never again.
Almost everything in that case is conical.
More or less.
So there is the supremacy writ large. There's two lonely cylindrical instruments down at the bottom. Everything else, they've seen the light.
Well, read my article on the difference between trumpets and cornets too, though.
We will post a link to that because I'm fascinated with that. There's your closet of cases. Are those horns in there or just cases?
Mostly with horns.
Oh my. Now, how do you decide what gets to stay and what doesn't?
Try to gauge how tolerant my wife is. I don't know.
So you mean the whole house would be full of horns?
Possibly.
And of course you have, this is a wax cylinder?
Yeah, Edison cylinder phonograph.
How old is it?
About 1910, I think.
1910.
Nothing rare or anything.
Looks rare to me. This is amazing. So, if you had to predict what instruments that are being made now will we be looking at in 150 to 200 years? Any of them?
That's hard to know. 'Cause, you know, the interest in history had a big surge in the around 1990s and so, and then it seems like the younger generation has less interest in history. So I don't know if that's going to go away completely. But it seems like everything's being documented better now. So you know that we'll probably have at least a couple of tubas played by Doug Tournquist in some collection.
Oh, you're so funny. Yeah, I've already made arrangements with the Smithsonian, of course, and just kidding. I know you said this years ago, but I don't know if it's true anymore. Has eBay changed the business at all?
Completely, yeah.
Really?
I mean, the internet in general, eBay specifically during the late 1890s and early 2000s, it was a drastic change. In fact, almost every day someone would come in the shop and want to talk about eBay, and I would say, you can't judge anything by eBay. But the funny thing is, now that all the dust is settled, people want me to appraise a horn. I usually just say, no, go on eBay and see what they're going for. I haven't done that, so you've got to do it yourself.
Okay, I get it. Well, we really want to thank you for showing us your workshop and your museum and your office. It's just been a real treat, and you are a Southern California treasure. And anyway, thanks for spending some time with us today.
Thank you.
Okay. See you, Rob.
What an absolutely awesome thing to see, I think. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful instruments. And Doug, thank you so much for taking the time to do that. Right now, we have a really special surprise for everybody out there. My co-host, I can't say enough great things about him as a person, but also he's probably one of my favorite tuba players out there. And he's really, really one of the finest soloists around as well. And one thing I really love about Doug is he's trying to push our literature forward. And he's going to premiere a piece for you right now that he had commissioned. The composer's name is Peter Yard Martin. And he's I'll get into that for next week too, but here's Doug Tournquist playing Arc Lines. For those of you out there who thought that was simple, no, it is not. And in fact, I wanted to ask you about this because it was something that you told me the other day when you played this for me, and I was going, yeah, man, this sounds great. I mean, but Doug actually created a click track to practice this by, because for those of you who didn't get to see the music, the time signature pretty much changes every bar, right? Or every 2 bars?
It changes every bar, 5/8, 2/4, 3/8, 7/8. He even wrote in some time signatures that don't exist, like 4/6.
4/6. Okay,
yes, or
yeah.
2/6.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
So deciphering that from a time aspect, because it's got to go on. I mean, what was your thought process to get through that?
Well, I thought I would first learn what he wrote, so I created a click track. The tempo is marked 8th note equals 192, so I thought, well, okay, I'll learn it. And I mean, from a performer's perspective, the learner's perspective, it's just a series of major triads. Each chord is a major triad in a different plane, if you will, a different tonality. And then the piece is connected by different sets of 3s, quarter note triplets, 8th note triplets, and then 8th note triplets over 2 8th notes within a 5/8 bar. And Peter, the composer, is in London, so he was talking about quavers and crotchets and semiquavers. And anyway, what is that? Two countries,
which us Americans don't really get.
2 countries separated by a common language. Is that so?
Awesome. Well said, sir.
So I learned the piece with a click track, and then I played it for Peter, and it's like, well, he's so polite, I mean, he said, it's not very laid back. Oh, okay, fine. So I threw the click track away, and then I actually had to take some time off from the piece. A few other things happened this month, and I came back to it, and I thought, this piece is so far from playing, and John was like, well, you should play it anyway. So John
I thought you stuck it, and you actually, when I was at your house on Tuesday, and I made you play it for me, I thought it was fine then, but this was a very, very nice performance, man.
We're going to do it again. That was the first premiere. He's also written a brass quintet, which we're going to try to do in 2 weeks, and then we're going to have Peter on as a guest, and he's going to talk about the connections between the 2 pieces.
Yeah, his music is really, really cool, and I'm really kind of looking forward to that.
He does a lot of offset and syncopated rhythms. I got to know him because of this piece he wrote for tuba and brass band called the Fabulous Gecko, which we played a rehearsal of long ago.
Yeah, and for those of you out there, you should go check that out, because everybody's always looking for new stuff to play, and I'll tell you what, this is good music right here. And speaking of good music, maybe we should have the guys come back up.
Please do.
A little bit more.
Let's get this spare tuba out of the way.
Yeah. So what we're going to do now is we're going to ask the guys to come back up, if they don't mind. And the next tune we're going to play is one that was one of the first tunes I ever learned in this style. And, well, how shall I put it? It was kind of Pops's, one of his signature tunes, right? I mean, Oh, and thank you, Joey. And Pops's wife actually wrote this tune.
Joey's a college professor, man.
Yeah, well, sometimes. So, here's a little strutting with some barbecue. Awesome. Just awesome. Let me get the beat steak.
Yeah. 4 bars is not? Right. 8.
Let's do it there.
All right.
You want to do it up a little bit?
More, because the next one's going to be...
Oh, that's right. All right. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. That's what I'm hanging over. It's my show.
Go and trumpet on us. Go and lead trumpet on us.
Pick it up. Lead tuba, damn it. Lead tuba. So, I hope everybody enjoyed that. I know we had a really great time up here. And it's really great playing with a bunch of guys who come on up, who actually know the style, and we're able to sit there and do stop times and trade fours and do eights and just kind of like change things up on the fly, key changes, because we've all been doing this for so long. It's just a lot of fun, man. And that's what I love about Dixieland is it's kind of a free for all.
Wow, you guys are just giants. It's incredible to hear you play.
Hey, man, do you mind talking to Joey and Chris over there a little bit? You want to?
It's more if they'll talk to me.
Okay.
Now, I just start with this trombone player. And I met you in the summer of, dare I say it, 1983. Remember?
Yeah, I very much remember that. That was great. That was the only year that they had two All-American college bands at a park, and you were in the one that we were in different bands, but we were still hanging a lot.
Yeah, I was at Epcot Center, and you were at the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, and they were both sort of miserable in their own way.
Well, it was hot, and the food was cheap. What else can we say? You know, it was a great experience, and it really changed my life.
No, it was a wonderful experience. I mean, we're in Florida in the summertime, so, there's bugs the size of a Volkswagen, and it's pretty hot. But musically, I mean, there's very dear friends from that band that I'm actually going on a camping trip with tomorrow in Denver. So still Nat Wickham and Trog, and Bob Kruger from our band. Yeah, and Greg Boyer from your band.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I still see Phil Keane from my band. Yeah, I work next to him all the time. So you, since then, you have gone on to be, I was reading your bio, okay, performer, educator, arranger, composer. You've kind of done it all. Orchestrator. Okay. Because I followed your career for a little bit as a trombonist, and then I see your name as a composer. Can you talk a little bit about all the things you've done?
Well, you can sum it up with one word, which is just keep trying and trying to find something different. Lately, as a player, I've been doing a lot of stuff with balloons. I went through my balloon period, and then I got away from it when my kids were younger. Now my kids are grown up, and I'm going back to the balloons. So, but I always like to think of it like Picasso had his blue period. He only had one blue period, so I'm trying to up Picasso by having two balloon periods. Yeah. Yeah, right. So, but as a composer, it's funny because I think most people think of me. I don't feel like I'm a really great trombone player. You know, there's so many great trombone players. I just had my mute bag stolen, and so I went up to Andy's house because he offered to get me some mutes. That's actually his bag over there with the San Francisco Giants thing on it. Not only did he give me the mutes, he gave me the damn bag. You know, and you know, and Charlie gave me some mutes, and Ben Dev gave me some mutes. So everyone came to bat for me. But my point was, I don't feel like I'm in a league as a trombone player. But as a musician, I feel like I can hang on the trombone. As a composer, I'm a little more snarky.
I know you. I know your piece for tuba and clarinet, and it's a great piece. And I remember that summer you also played piano in the jazz band, right?
I think that's how I got the gig because they called me pretty late for that gig. You know, I mean, I swore in the audition. You're not supposed to do that at a Disney audition. You know, like I missed the high D flat, which I usually do on Little Brown Jug. You know, and I said, you know, what I said, and there was kind of this stunned silence. And I didn't get called for that gig till later in the summer, so I think someone bailed, and then they realized, oh, this Yutz can play the piano too, so they needed that for the jazz sets.
So that was when you stopped swearing and you never used another word like that.
Yeah, well, as you know, Disney has a profound influence.
Hey, Doug. As long as you're interviewing Joey, who I have a monumental amount of respect for, ask him how he earned the nickname Knuckles.
We can talk about that, but not in public.
Okay. Please put that in the chat. All questions will be answered.
They will be.
Send a self-addressed stamped envelope. Well, that is amazing. Now, you're also working at Saddleback College, right, and teaching.
Right. So when we after Disneyland, where I worked for a little over 10 years, my wife and I moved to New York, and that was a really important part of my development because I just got totally, I was just totally inspired by those players there. And then I got offered a teaching position at Northern Illinois University, and so we went there for 3 years after our daughter was born. Thought it might be nice to have a steady income. And then got called to come back to Saddleback College in 2002. And it's been really, I feel a lot of gratitude for the experience there because it was such a shock for me coming into that from what my previous life had been. And I was very welcome there, and I feel really a great sense of gratitude to have that as an employer where we can be engaged in creative activity at all counts.
Well, I'm sure they're delighted to have you there, and it's great to hear you play. I am just, as a classical player, I'm always amazed at how each of you finds your role and your like stratum within the group, and it sounds like it was planned that way, and it's all just random, right?
Well, one of the most beautiful things about New Orleans-style jazz is this concept of polyphony. Obviously, jazz before polyphony, the greatest polyphonic composer, probably Bach, but we have different roles that we all understand and know what our role is. And when everyone just knows that, there's a lot of creative latitude within that freedom, like with most improvised jazz, I imagine. But you're playing a style. I wouldn't play this way if I were playing my balloon music, but I'm going to try to play just like, you might phrase differently in a Baroque piece as opposed to a modern classical piece.
I like that, though. If you know your place, that's where the creativity lies.
A lot of freedom, always a lot of freedom in any kind of music, no matter what the style.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Joe. I'm gonna talk with Chris.
Actually, let me come over here first, if you don't mind. So, for those of you out here there, the four of us actually playing the Jambalaya Jazz Band, and these two guys, I've been fortunate enough to actually have known since college, and at that time, these two guys started a band called the Side Street Strutters, and Joey and I both were in that band for, let's see, Joey was what, 15 years in the band? Yeah, and mine was like about 23, and you guys are still going strong, still booking gigs out there. But the other thing too is I've worked with these guys at the park now for 36 years. I mean, it's 36 years, and it's pretty amazing. We were talking earlier about this legacy thing, and I thought maybe you guys could chime in on that a little bit about that, the park having, or Disneyland, for those of you who don't, my thing here, but and talk a little bit about maybe the importance that you've, because obviously I think we're all on the same page with this thing, and what you feel about, you know, Dixieland and traditional jazz being at the park. Vince, you got anything to weigh in on?
Yeah, I'm probably the only one out of this entourage today that did not pursue music at a younger age. I actually stopped playing this instrument for almost 10 years before meeting you guys through Rob, and the influence that you, Joey Sellers, and some of the other guys that are not here today had on me have been literally life-changing. In particular, Joey Sellers. Listening to him, hearing his philosophy on music, how I should approach my role in this art form, was literally life-changing for me, and I will be forever in debt for that experience. I've loved my experience at Disneyland. I miss playing with you and Tom and some of the other guys out there in the Jambalaya Jazz Band. So I welcome the opportunity to come back, and I welcome the opportunity, or thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to experience this kind of life, which has been amazing to me.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you right now, Vince, it still shocks me that you got some of the best ears in the business. You really do. No, seriously. You know, we throw curveballs at you all the time, and you're just like, okay. And most guys would be pissed about that. But but hang on a second. But Rob actually is the front guy for the Side Street Strutters, and if you haven't checked them out, please go to their website, check out their stuff and everything. And Rob does a bunch of other stuff too. But go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to kind of plug you a little bit.
Oh, thank you for that. But no, you and Doug talked earlier. You reminded the viewers of the rich history of Dixieland jazz at Disneyland, and how Walt really embraced that music. Louis Armstrong on, there, and all the big bands that came through what we knew as Carnation Garden stage, on any given week. We could hear Buddy Rich or Basie's band and all that. And Lionel Hampton, all those groups.
That's where we met.
Oh, okay, with Jimmy. There you go. So I think what is really neat is, at least up to this point, Disney has recognized that tradition and has always had New Orleans-style jazz bands in the park. Of course, the Royal Street Bachelors, a very historic group, and Side Street Strutters were proud to be part of that history for 22 years. And I'm just hoping that they recognize that and bring that back. Because the whole idea with all these atmosphere groups, as they call it at Disney, is to bring the area to life. So when somebody's walking through New Orleans Square, yeah, they see the buildings, the wrought iron, the architecture, they can have a fritter and experience the cuisine of New Orleans, but nothing brings it to that extra step than a jazz band out there throwing Mardi Gras beads and playing some of the traditional tunes.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because it just reminded me, a friend of mine posted the other day, he said he was at the park and he was listening to the BGM and there was nothing else going on. And he said, man, really miss you guys being there. And we really miss being there as well. So, no, hang on. I want to talk to Tommy for just a second. Yes, come on, Tommy. You don't want to? Okay, good. So,
Are you kidding?
Tom Liston is probably the one of the most versatile musicians I've ever met in my life. Not only does he play wonderful banjo, but also wonderful guitar. He plays trombone. He plays sousaphone and tuba. And this summer, you're doing your steel drum gig, right? And he's got this really great steel drum band and everything. And for those of you out there who are always going, well, where can I find work? Where can I find work? Well, this guy not only finds work, but he invents work. And being at Disneyland, I mean, before we were out, you were working 6-7 days a week, right, man? It just as much as you wanted to, for the most part, right?
Yeah, here and there. Yeah, just doing different things. That's what's always kept me going. It's just like doing a variety of different styles and playing with different people. It's great. Yeah, I just really.
Spice of life, right?
Yeah.
Well, not to mention then you never get tired of the repertoire either, because you're playing all kinds of different stuff all the time.
Yeah, it really keeps the creative thing going. That's what I really enjoy the most.
I think Doug and I have talked about this a lot, and that's kind of what I preach a lot on the show is go out there and try different stuff. Try playing different stuff. You don't have to play Blazevich all the time. You don't have to do this all the time. You don't have to do all this other kind of crap all the time. Go out and try it out, man. It's all really good. So I'm going to toss it back to Doug, and maybe he can talk to Chris a little bit. But we're not talking to you. No, I talked to you the other week. Yeah, so we're done.
So, Chris, where was it that we met?
I'm guessing it was Disneyland. Wasn't it in the Dickens band?
No. It was February of 1993. We're on a plane eastbound for Tokyo.
You're right. Okay. No, I remember you in the contract reading. That's right. Yeah. All right. I remember you. Did you ask about the lumbar support? Was that one of yours?
No, I think I was asking about the shade stipulations. Yes.
Yeah, we had a very specific contract, and I remember Doug at the meeting now. Yes.
So, and then we actually shared the same address for a while, didn't we?
Yes, the Biblos.
Not just the seventh floor.
Seventh floor of the Biblos Hotel.
Well, what was your room number?
I went twice, so I can't recall, to be totally honest.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went back as the contractor, and I set things up in 2004. So they put me in a nicer hotel then.
Oh, that's why you went for the hotel.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was about 40 square feet, so it had a TV, and then that was pretty much it.
Oh, you had a TV?
Yeah, we had a TV, and all the inappropriate Japanese television you could possibly want to see.
Absolutely. Chris and I worked a job in Haus Tembus, which was not a theme park but a cultural resort.
Right. It was. They had tried it earlier in Nagasaki, and they had built a small prototype, which was, I don't know how big, but it was big. It was a park. And then they thought, well, this was great, so let's build the biggest thing we've ever seen anywhere and put every Dutch building that they could get blueprints to, and we'll build all of them. And then, sure, people will come, won't they?
Well, they did, but we had swans and we had tulips. I remember we had that museum full of fake Dutch masters. The idea was it's only a matter of time before we get the real ones.
Yeah. and the thing is, the park went out of business, I think it's on the fifth time they've gone out of business, and the city just took it over. Yeah. These gigantic buildings, and they are built to exact specifications to what they are in Holland, but they serve no purpose.
Did you see that Miyazaki film, Spirited Away?
I did not.
Well,
did you play on that?
No, I did not. But it begins with this little girl, and she goes into this deserted theme park, and she says, "Wow, look at this place. These were really big in the '90s."
Yeah, well, there it is. So. And I got to play with Doug, and I won't discuss the costume that Doug had to wear because I don't think it would be fair.
Well, you wore a sailor outfit, so you got off easy.
Yes, I did not wear what you wore.
I would like to hear Doug's outfit. Me too.
Okay, just for posterity, I don't have a picture, but I'll find one. We'll start with the shoes. I had shoes, flesh-colored tights, pink knickers.
None of this is important.
I had I remember it was a peasant blouse with big floppy sleeves with pink piping.
Let's get to the real thing.
I had a pink and black plaid vest.
No.
I had a blue apron.
No.
With the pockets. The pockets were baloney. Remember, they were functional baloney pockets on my blue satin apron.
Yes.
But I wore for every day, 6 months. I wore a crown of weenies.
It's a wiener hat.
Yes.
It was wieners put together vertically all around to make a hat. He was a butcher. Oh, come on.
Oh, I thought I was the sausage man.
Well, you were a sausage man, according to the Japanese, but I went ahead and called it butcher because that made more sense. But they did. They called him sausage man.
They did. Well, I don't know what they called
not
me.
what we called you.
I know, probably not, and probably not what the Japanese called me either. But we got some good playing. I mean, we got to play Plink Plank Plunk every day.
Well, and we played Gabrielli.
Well, we did play Gabrielli.
And we played.
We had those huge audiences too. I remember.
We played Scheidt. We played Gabrielli. We played. I forget who else. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
It was, yes, but we got in a lot of good playing.
Yeah.
I practiced a lot, and that's where I got to know you.
That's right. And
And
we did that for 9 months, I think.
Well, I had
6
6.
months.
Yes, but we rode the train together.
Yep.
Yeah.
We didn't see a lot of you. You went off on your own after a while when the sausage hat had done its job.
That sounds like Doug.
I discovered the Dairy Queen at that stop right before, and in high key. Remember?
Yes, I do.
Anyway, but now it's my turn to embarrass you. But Chris is one of the most incredible lead trumpet players I know. He's the style king. He can do anything. The only person I knew who sounded like you was Warren Looning, and he was an encyclopedia of style, which I think you are. And you are tearing it up here in Los Angeles. You're the first choice for lead trumpet on so many orchestral jobs. You sound incredible
Well, thank
in this group. And because I'm going to ask you to play a free gig, so that's why I'm saying this.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the only kind of gigs I get, so this works out great. I like to play, I like these other guys, as much different things as I can, and so I put my toe into a little bit of classical music. I play as much quintet things as I can, and then I can play some lead, and I can play some jazz, and I would say more a jack of all trades, because that's kind of what I need to do to make a living,
And can you answer a question for me? Is the trumpet appropriate for this style? Cornet was not used historically.
No, both. Cornet was certainly used. It became an issue of how it was being recorded. They recorded into these giant cones, right? Mm-hmm. And so it depended on how much volume they needed. Mm-hmm. And the cornet was really the solo instrument, just like it was in classical music. It bridged that gap, and so soloists wanted to play cornet, but the trumpet was louder. It was easier. Mm-hmm. It was easier to get out there, and so I think that the natural transition came. But you saw, Bick Spiderbeck played a lot of cornets.
Sure.
Louis did play cornet early in his career, and then he went to trumpet. So I think that it was out there.
All right.
Yeah, I didn't bring one because mine plays really out of tune. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's me or the cornet, but somebody involved with the cornet is out of tune.
Yeah. Well, a workman never blames his tools, but
journeyman does.
I'm going to let you guys play. Chris, it's been a great pleasure.
Come on up here, because we're kind of running out of time.
Are you going to play some more?
Yeah, we're going to
Good.
do one more tune, but I wanted to first of all thank everybody out there for tuning in today. We are having an ultimate gas here, and the band's going to play one more tune. And I'd also like to thank all my friends up here on stage for taking a little time out on their Sunday, and just wonderful playing as always.
Thanks for having me.
Just really great. Next week on our show, is it next week we're going to do the quintet show?
It just might be.
Yeah, so next week, tune in again. We're going to be back here at Local 7 for a live brass quintet show, and I don't think I'm going to play, which is really great, because that's like the first time in a long time. So I'm kind of down with that, and it's all going to be on Doug.
Okay.
So, but thanks for a great show today, man.
Thank you, John.
And we're going to play one more tune. Here's a little George Gershwin tune to take you guys out. Please join us again next Sunday for Conical Supremacy at 3 p.m. You can find us on Facebook, Twitch, and or YouTube. And I want to thank my co-host and good friend Doug Tournquist for his time and effort today, and all you guys as well. Thank you so much. Made my day today. So here's a little George Gershwin tune called Swonderful. Thanks a lot, folks. We'll see y'all next week on Conical Supremacy. Bye-bye.